The champagne flute shattered against the marble floor, and Adanna Okafor knew someone had just tried to kill her. One moment, she'd been standing on the balcony of Seoul's most exclusive charity gala, watching the glittering cityscape below. The next, hands shoved hard against her lower back, and she was pitching forward toward the railing, her heels catching on her gown. 3 stories down. Certain death. Strong arms caught her waist, yanking her backward. She crashed into a solid chest, her heart hammering so violently she thought it might burst. The champagne glass she'd been holding fell from her nerveless fingers, exploding on impact far below. "Did someone push you?" The voice was warm honey, accented English wrapping around each word. She twisted in his arms to find Min-ho Kang staring down at her, his artist's hands still gripping her waist like he was afraid to let go. His twin brother Dae-hyun appeared seconds later, his scarred jaw tight with fury, his slight limp more pronounced as he rushed toward them. "Who touched her?" Dae-hyun's voice cut through the night air like a blade. "Who put their hands on my wife?" Wife. The word still felt foreign in Adanna's mouth, though she'd signed the contract 3 days ago. Married to both of them, 2 brothers, one impossible arrangement. And now someone wanted her dead before the ink had even dried. "I don't know," Adanna managed, her voice shaking. "I felt hands. Definitely hands. But when I turned," she gestured helplessly at the crowd visible through the glass doors. At least 50 people in designer gowns and tailored suits, any one of them could have done it. Minho's fingers tightened on her waist. "You're safe now. I've got you." But his eyes scanned the crowd with the intensity of a predator identifying threats. Dae-hyun pulled out his phone, already barking orders in Korean to what sounded like security. Then he switched to English, his attention laser-focused on Adanna. "We're leaving. Now." "But the gala," Adanna started. "Fuck the gala," Dae-hyun said flatly. "Someone just tried to murder you. We're going home where I can protect you properly." 10 minutes later, Adanna sat between both brothers in the back of an armored car, watching Seoul's neon-lit streets blur past. Her hands wouldn't stop shaking. Minho held one, his thumb tracing soothing circles on her palm. Dae-hyun had the other pressed against his scarred jaw, as if physically grounding himself with her presence. This wasn't how her life was supposed to go. 3 weeks ago, she'd been a struggling architect in Seoul, working triple shifts to afford her father's cancer treatment back in Lagos, her mother's tearful phone calls, her little sister's university fees, the medical bills stacking higher than any building Adanna had ever designed. She'd been drowning in debt with no life raft in sight. Then Helena Park had walked into her office with a leather portfolio and an offer that sounded like either salvation or a deal with the devil. "My clients need a wife," Helena had said, sliding a contract across Adanna's cluttered desk. 18 months. All your family's debts cleared. $750,000 upon completion. Adanna had laughed. Actually laughed. What kind of wife? The legal kind. The Kang Corporation is one of Seoul's most powerful conglomerates. The Kang twins need to fulfill a clause in their late parents' will. Both must be married to the same woman, or they lose controlling interest in the company. That's insane. That's Korea. Specific circumstances, specific laws, very specific grandmothers with very specific demands. Helena had smiled without warmth. You fit the requirements. 26, unmarried, financially desperate, architectural background. They need someone who understands their business. And your Nigerian heritage makes you politically neutral in their world. Adanna had wanted to be offended, but she'd been too busy calculating. $750,000. Her father could get the experimental treatment. Her sister could finish university. Her mother could finally breathe. What's the catch? Helena's smile had sharpened. Read the contract carefully, Miss Okafor, especially Section 7. Adanna had read it. Every word. The marriage had to be legitimate in all ways. She'd understood what that meant, even through the legal jargon. Intimacy. With both of them. The thought had terrified and, she'd admitted only in the darkest part of her mind, intrigued her. She'd signed 3 days ago. Now someone wanted her dead. The penthouse was all glass and steel and minimalist luxury. The kind of place Adanna used to design in school projects, but never thought she'd actually inhabit. Dae-hyun disappeared immediately to review security footage. Min-ho guided her to the couch, his hand never leaving the small of her back. "Whiskey?" he offered. "God, yes!" He poured them both generous glasses, then sat beside her, close enough that their thighs touched. "I'm sorry," he said quietly. "I should have been watching you more carefully. You saved my life. I almost didn't get there in time." His jaw clenched. "If I'd been 5 seconds slower..." "But you weren't." Adanna took a long drink, letting the burn ground her. "Min-ho, what did I just marry into? Who wants me dead?" Before he could answer, Dae-hyun returned, his expression grim. "Security cameras were conveniently angled wrong. No footage of your section of the balcony." "Convenient," Adanna said bitterly. "Professional," Dae-hyun corrected. He sat across from them, his cold eyes studying her face. Someone planned this. Someone with access to the gala's security systems. "The Hwang family," Min-ho said quietly. Dae-hyun shot him a warning look, but Min-ho shook his head. "She deserves to know what she's walked into." "Who are the Hwangs?" Adanna asked, though dread was already pooling in her stomach. The brothers exchanged a long look, one of those silent conversations identical siblings seemed capable of. Finally, Dae-hyun spoke, his voice flat and emotionless in a way that somehow made it worse. 15 years ago, our parents were murdered, burned alive in their own building by a business rival named Hwang Dong-wook. He's in prison now. His daughter, Hwang Soo-min, has spent the last decade trying to destroy us. She believes we framed her father, that we're the real monsters." He paused. "She might be at the gala tonight." Adanna's hand tightened on her glass. "And you didn't think to mention that someone with a vendetta against you might target your new wife?" "We have enemies, Adanna," Min-ho said gently. "Many enemies. The Hwangs are just one family among dozens who'd love to see the Kang brothers fall. We thought the marriage would protect you, make you too valuable to touch." "Clearly that math was wrong," Adanna snapped. "Clearly," Dae-hyun agreed, standing abruptly. "Which is why from now on you don't go anywhere without both of us or our security team. No exceptions." "I'm not a prisoner." "No," Dae-hyun said, and something flickered in his cold eyes, something that might have been fear if he were capable of it. "You're our wife, which makes you the most valuable target in Seoul. And I will not..." His voice cracked slightly. "I will not watch another person I'm supposed to protect burn." The rawness in his words shocked her. This was the man who'd been nothing but ice and calculation since she'd met him. But now she saw past the facade to the terrified 17-year-old boy still trapped inside, still watching his parents die. Min-ho stood, crossing to his brother. He didn't say anything, just gripped Dae-hyun's shoulder. The gesture was brief but spoke volumes, a lifetime of shared trauma compressed into a single touch. Adanna set down her glass and stood as well. "Then tell me everything. If I'm going to be a target, I deserve to know why." Min-ho led her to the terrace while Dae-hyun disappeared to make more security calls. The Seoul skyline glittered before them, a canvas of light and shadow. Min-ho pulled out his phone, scrolled through photos, then handed it to her. A family portrait. 2 teenage boys with matching smiles flanking a handsome couple. "That was taken 3 hours before they died," Min-ho said softly. His voice carried the weight of 15 years of grief. "We were celebrating. Father had just closed a major deal. Mother made kalbi herself, insisted on a family dinner before the business meeting that night." Adanna studied the photo. The boys looked so young, so unburdened. She could see Dae-hyun's sharp intelligence in his eyes even then, Min-ho's artistic sensitivity in the way he held himself slightly apart. "Hwang Dong-wook came to that meeting with demands. Sign over 30% of the company or he'd expose Father's business practices to international regulators. Father refused. Hwang had brought armed men. They locked our parents in the conference room and set the building on fire." "My God," Adanna whispered. "Dae-hyun and I were supposed to be at that meeting. Father sent us away at the last minute. Said we were too young, that business could wait. We snuck back anyway. hid in the ventilation system to listen. That's how we survived. His hands trembled as he took the phone back. We heard everything, mother's screams, father shouting for someone to break down the door, the smoke, the heat, He stopped, swallowing hard. Adanna reached for his hand. He gripped it like a lifeline. Dae-hyun wanted to go back. After we crawled through the vents to safety, he tried to run back inside. He was screaming, fighting, begging me to let him save them. Minho's voice cracked. I held him back. I was bigger then, stronger that one night. I wrestled him to the ground and held him while the building burned, while our parents died. You saved his life, Adanna said firmly. Did I? Minho's laugh was bitter. Sometimes I think I killed something in him that night. The part that felt things, that loved freely. I made him watch our parents burn because I was too afraid to let him try. What kind of brother does that make me? The kind who kept you both alive. He got his limp from that night, injured his leg fighting against me. Every time I see him walk, I remember. I'm the reason he's broken, Adanna. I broke my own brother to save him. Adanna pulled him into her arms, felt him shake against her. This beautiful, gentle man carrying 15 years of guilt like stones in his pockets. Has he ever blamed you? She asked quietly. No, never. Which somehow makes it worse. Then maybe you should ask him why. A sound from the doorway made them both turn. Dae-hyun stood there, his face a careful mask, but Adanna saw the telltale shine of moisture in his eyes. How long had he been listening? Hyung, Minho started, pulling away from Adanna. I didn't know you were... But Dae-hyun turned and walked away, his limp more pronounced than usual. The click of his office door closing echoed through the penthouse like a gunshot. Minho made to follow, but Adanna stopped him. Give him a minute, let him process. I just told you I'm the reason he's damaged and you want me to leave him alone? I want you to trust that maybe he heard something he needed to hear. Adanna cupped his face, forcing him to meet her eyes. Minho, you've spent 15 years thinking you failed him. Has it occurred to you that he might have spent 15 years thinking he failed you? That he couldn't save your parents despite your sacrifice? Minho's eyes widened. I never thought. Exactly. Adanna released him. Now, I need you to tell me about Hwang Soo-min. Everything. Minho poured himself another whiskey, this one much larger. Soo-min and I were engaged before the fire. Childhood sweethearts arranged by our families. She was supposed to be at a charity event that night. But her father pulled her at the last minute. Kept her home. I thought she died in the fire too, that maybe she'd come back early. For 2 years, I mourned her. What happened after 2 years? She resurfaced. Older, harder, filled with rage. Her father had been convicted of murder, sent to prison. She'd been in witness protection, hidden by prosecutors who feared retaliation. When she came back with a mission. Destroy the Kang family, prove her father's innocence, restore the Hwang name. Adanna's stomach dropped. And you've been meeting with her. Minho's head snapped up. How did you... I have eyes, Minho. I saw you at the art gallery last week with a beautiful woman who looked at you like you hung the moon. I saw you again 3 days ago at that cafe in Itaewon. You think I wouldn't notice my own husband sneaking around? It's not what you think. Then tell me what it is. Minho set down his glass, ran his hands through his hair. I've been trying to broker peace. Soo-min believes her father was framed, that he acted in self-defense, that our father attacked first. I've been showing her evidence that it wasn't self-defense. It was premeditated murder. But I've also been learning things, Adanna. Things about my father that I wish I didn't know. What things? That maybe both our fathers were monsters. That maybe the truth is uglier than either family wants to admit. Before Adanna could respond, her phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. She opened it and her blood turned to ice. The photo showed her sister Kioma outside her university in Lagos, laughing with friends, completely unaware of the camera capturing her. Below the image, a message in block letters. Pretty girl. Would be a shame if something happened to her. Leave Seoul in 24 hours or your family pays. Minho? Adanna's voice came out strangled. She showed him the phone with shaking hands. His expression went from concerned to lethal in seconds. Dae-hyun, he shouted, we have a problem. Dae-hyun emerged from his office, took one look at Adanna's face, and crossed the room in 4 strides despite his limp. He read the message, and something terrifying flickered behind his eyes. The same cold calculation she imagined he'd used to survive that night 15 years ago. Get Helena on the phone, he told Minho, and activate the Lagos security team. I want eyes on Keoma Okafor in the next 10 minutes. You have a Lagos security team? Adanna asked numbly. We have security teams in 15 cities, Dae-hyun said, already typing on his phone. Protection isn't just local anymore, Adanna. Not for people we care about. The casual way he said it, people we care about, cut through her shock. These men barely knew her, yet they were mobilizing international resources to protect her sister. Her phone buzzed again. Another photo. This time her mother at the market in Lagos, haggling over yams. Then her father in his hospital bed, tubes and monitors surrounding him. Each photo punctuated with red X marks over their faces. They're watching everyone I love, Adanna whispered. Oh God, they're going to kill them. No, Dae-hyun said with absolute certainty. They're not, because in approximately, he checked his watch, 8 minutes, your family will be surrounded by the best private security money can buy. In 2 hours, they'll be on a plane to a safe location, and whoever sent these messages will learn what happens when you threaten a Kang. Who would do this? Adanna demanded. The Hwangs? Minho and Dae-hyun exchanged another look. Possibly, Minho said carefully. But the Hwangs usually operate with more finesse. This is crude. Desperate. There's something else, Dae-hyun said slowly. He pulled up an image on his tablet, showed it to them. The threatening message envelope zoomed in on the handwriting of her name. I recognize this handwriting. From where? Minho asked. From grandmother's correspondence file. This is Prosecutor Yoon's handwriting, one of her associates. Dae-hyun's expression darkened. Why would grandmother's prosecutor be threatening Adanna? The question hung in the air like poison gas. Adanna's mind raced through the implications. Unless she ordered it. Impossible, Minho said immediately. Grandmother wouldn't. Wouldn't what? Adanna interrupted. Wouldn't hurt someone who threatened her carefully laid plans? Minho, I've met your grandmother exactly once, and even I could see she's a woman who protects her interests ruthlessly. But you're family now, Minho protested. The marriage makes you family. The marriage makes me a complication, Adanna corrected. She thought back to the wedding 3 days ago, to grandmother Kang's assessing eyes studying her like livestock. She agreed to this arrangement because she needed you married to maintain control of the company. But what if I see too much, learn too much? What if I'm a witness to something she doesn't want witnessed? Dae-hyun was nodding slowly. The contract gave you access to company files. As our legal wife, you can review financial documents, attend board meetings. You have legitimate standing. Standing to discover what? Adanna asked. That's what we're going to find out. Dae-hyun's phone buzzed. Your sister is secure. Security team has eyes on her. Your parents are being extracted now. We told them it's protective custody related to a police investigation. They won't know the real reason. Relief flooded through Adanna so intensely she felt dizzy. Thank you. Don't thank us yet, Dae-hyun said grimly. Whoever sent those messages will escalate when they realize your family is protected. You're the target now, Adanna. Only you. The confrontation with grandmother Kang happened at dawn. Dae-hyun had insisted on waiting until they had more information, but Adanna was done being passive. Someone had tried to kill her, threatened her family, and turned her marriage into a death trap. She wanted answers. Grandmother lived in the ancestral wing of the Kang family estate in Gangnam, a traditional hanok hidden behind modern security that would make a military installation jealous. As their car pulled through the gates, Adanna saw armed guards, cameras, motion sensors, all protecting one elderly woman who supposedly just wanted to see her grandsons married. Let me do the talking, Dae-hyun said as they walked through manicured gardens toward the main house. Absolutely not, Adanna replied. She tried to have me killed. I think I've earned the right to ask why. Minho touched her elbow gently. Grandmother is dangerous when cornered. She's survived 93 years in a world that eats the weak. Please, Adanna, be careful. They found her in the tea room, sitting in a chair that looked more like a throne, her white handbag immaculate, her eyes sharp as broken glass. She didn't look surprised to see them. So, Grandmother Kang said, in heavily accented English, the girl has finally come to confront me. I wondered how long it would take. Did you order the attack at the gala? Adanna demanded, ignoring Minho's warning hand on her arm. Did you send those messages threatening my family? Sit, Grandmother commanded. We will have tea. I don't want tea. I want the truth. And I want great-grandchildren before I die, but we don't always get what we want, do we? Grandmother gestured imperiously. Sit or leave. But if you leave now, you'll never understand what you've married into. Adanna sat. Daehyun and Minho flanked her like bodyguards, their bodies tense. Grandmother poured tea with steady hands, each movement precise and deliberate. The push at the gala was mine, not the messages. Those came from someone else, someone I'm still identifying. But yes, I ordered you frightened. I wanted to see if you would run. You tried to kill me to test me? Adanna's voice rose. I tried to scare you, Grandmother corrected. There's a difference. If I wanted you dead, girl, you'd be dead. The car that swerved at you yesterday, also mine. A warning. Leave my grandsons before you destroy what I've built. Daehyun stood abruptly. You did what? Grandmother's eyes slid to him, cold and assessing. I protected you, as I always have. This girl, she waved dismissively at Adanna. She's a complication I didn't anticipate. She's our wife, Minho said, his voice harder than Adanna had ever heard it. She's a witness, Grandmother snapped back. Do you think I don't know she's been accessing company files, reading financial reports? Your little architect has a curious mind, and curiosity in this family is dangerous. What are you hiding? Adanna asked quietly. Grandmother smiled, and it was the most terrifying expression Adanna had ever seen. Everything, child. I'm hiding everything. Your husband's father, my son, was not a good man. He trafficked weapons, laundered money for cartels, destroyed anyone who stood in his way. Hwang Dong-wook wasn't trying to expose him out of morality. Hwang wanted a bigger cut of the profits. Minho made a sound like he'd been punched. That's a lie. Is it? Grandmother pulled out a folder, slid it across the table. These are the police reports I paid to bury. The evidence I destroyed. The witnesses I silenced. Your father was a monster, but he was my monster. And I've spent 15 years protecting you from that truth. Daehyun opened the folder with shaking hands. Adanna watched his face drain of color as he read, watched something break behind his eyes. The fire, he said hoarsely. Hwang said it, but father started it, Grandmother finished. Your father pulled a gun first. Hwang's men reacted. The fire was chaos, not premeditation. Both men were killers that night, but only one survived to go to prison, and I made sure it was Hwang. You framed him, Minho whispered. I protected my family, Grandmother corrected. And I've been moving money offshore ever since, because when the truth comes out, and it will, truths always do, this company will be destroyed. Seized by governments, frozen by courts, picked apart by rivals. In 5 months, the Wills Clause activates and ownership reverts to the Hwang family. But by then, there will be nothing left to own. Every asset will be safely hidden where no one can touch it. Including us, Daehyun said flatly. You're stealing our inheritance. I'm securing your future, Grandmother said. The money will be yours in accounts only I can access. But the company, the legacy, the Kang name, all of it burns, and you'll be free to start over, clean. Adanna's mind was reeling. The marriage, making them marry me, that was part of this? You were insurance, Grandmother admitted. Nigerian, desperate, easily controlled. You'd be my proxy after I die, the one who could access the hidden accounts and distribute them to my grandsons. But you weren't supposed to fall in love. Love makes people stupid, makes them ask questions. Like why you're bribing prosecutor Yoon to threaten my family? Adanna guessed. Grandmother's expression flickered, surprise, then respect. You're smarter than I calculated? Yes, Yoon was supposed to scare you into leaving. But he's gotten greedy, started making his own moves. The messages, the photos, those were him going off script. He wants more money to stay quiet about what he knows. So you have him killed, Adanna said. It wasn't a question. I have him managed. Grandmother sipped her tea calmly. He'll be dealt with. You, however, present a different problem. You know too much now, and my grandsons clearly love you, which means they'll protect you over protecting themselves. Are you threatening her again? Minho's voice was deadly quiet. I'm stating facts. Grandmother set down her cup. The girl lives, she becomes a liability. She testifies when investigators come sniffing. She tells pretty stories about justice and truth. And everything I've built, everything I've protected, crumbles. Daehyun moved faster than Adanna had ever seen him move, his limp completely forgotten. He was around the table, his hand on his grandmother's throat before she could blink. You won't touch her. Daehyun! Minho grabbed his brother's arm, but Daehyun shook him off. I watched my parents burn. Daehyun snarled, his face inches from grandmother's. I've carried that for 15 years. You don't get to make me watch someone else I love die. You don't get to take her from me. From us, Minho corrected, his hand now on Daehyun's shoulder, supportive rather than restraining. You hurt her grandmother, and you lose both of us. Forever. Grandmother's eyes moved between her grandsons, reading something in their unified stance. Then she laughed, that crackling paper sound. Finally you boys show spine. I was beginning to think you'd never stand up to me. Daehyun released her, stepped back. This was another test? Everything is a test, grandmother wheezed. And you passed? You chose her over me, over the company, over everything. That's when I know it's real. You're insane, Adanna said shakily. I'm thorough. Grandmother rubbed her throat where Daehyun's fingers had left marks. But I'm also dying. 3 months, maybe less. And I needed to know my grandsons would protect what matters when I'm gone. You matter, girl. Not because of the contract, because they chose you over everything else. So what now? Minho asked. Now you have a choice. Grandmother pulled out another folder. Hwang Soo-min has been gathering evidence against me for months. She's ready to go to international authorities, blow this whole conspiracy open. She'll destroy the company, drag your father's crimes into the light, and take everything. Good, Daehyun said coldly. Let it burn. Even if it means prison for you? Grandmother asked. You benefited from those illegal profits. You lived in houses bought with blood money. Courts won't care that you were children. They'll want someone to punish. Adanna stood, moved to stand between the brothers. Then we give them someone to punish. You. Grandmother smiled approvingly. Smart girl. Yes. I take the fall. Confess to everything. The bribes, the cover-ups, the offshore accounts. I die in prison, but you 3 walk away clean. Why would you do that? Minho asked suspiciously. Because I love you, you stupid boy. Both of you. More than the company, more than the legacy, more than my own freedom. Grandmother's voice cracked for the first time. Your father was my son, but he was a monster. I protected him because that's what mothers do. But you two, you can be better. You can build something clean. And this girl, she looked at Adanna. She'll help you do it. There's a catch, Daehyun said flatly. Always. Grandmother pulled out one final document. This is evidence proving Hwang Dong-wook acted in self-defense that night. Give it to Soo-min. Let her clear her father's name. The Hwang family gets justice, you get your freedom, and I get to die knowing I finally did one right thing. Adanna took the document, scanned it. Police reports, witness statements, forensic evidence, all proving that the fire had been mutual combat, not murder. Why hide this for 15 years? Pride? Grief? Fear? Grandmother stood slowly, suddenly looking every one of her 93 years. I convinced myself I was protecting you boys, but really I was protecting my son's memory. And that was selfish. Minho moved to her, and Adanna saw the boy he must have been, the one who'd loved his grandmother before learning what she'd done. Halmoni, he whispered. I don't want you to die in prison. Then visit me, grandmother said, cupping his face. Both of you, bring this girl. Show me the great-grandchildren I'll never meet outside prison walls. But let me do this. Let me finally protect you the right way. Daehyun's jaw worked. And Prosecutor Yoon? Will be arrested within the hour. I've already made the calls. Grandmother looked at Adanna. Your family will stay safe. Yoon was the one escalating, trying to blackmail me for more money by threatening you. With him gone, the threats stop. Just like that? Adanna asked skeptically. Just like that, grandmother confirmed. I'm many things, girl, but I keep my word. You've earned protection by making my grandsons happy. That's worth more than money. The meeting with Hwang Soo-min happened in neutral territory, a cafe in Hongdae where students and artists mingled, where two families who'd destroyed each other could sit across a table without bloodshed. Adanna insisted on being there, despite both brothers' protests. This was her life now, her family, and she refused to hide while they negotiated her future. Soo-min arrived alone, dressed in a simple black coat, her beauty sharp and dangerous. She looked at Minho first, something complicated flickering across her face, then at Daehyun with open hatred, and finally at Adanna with naked curiosity. So you're the woman who tamed the Kang brothers, Soo-min said, sitting gracefully. I didn't think it was possible. I didn't tame anyone, Adanna replied evenly. I married them. There's a difference. Soo-min's lips quirked. I like you. That's unfortunate since I came here to destroy your husbands. No, you didn't, Minho said quietly. He slid the folder across the table. You came here for the truth. This is it. Everything grandmother hid. Everything that proves your father acted in self-defense. Soo-min opened the folder slowly, like it might contain a bomb. Her hands began to shake as she read. Tears slid down her face, smudging her perfect makeup. He told me, she whispered. Before he died, he told me it wasn't murder. But no one believed him. The courts, the media, everyone said he was a monster. He wasn't, Daehyun said, and the words clearly cost him. Our father pulled a gun first. Your father's men reacted. The fire was chaos. Both men are responsible, but your father didn't deserve to die in prison believing the world thought he was a murderer. Why give me this now? Soo-min demanded, looking up with tear-bright eyes. Why not let me destroy you? Because hatred has to end somewhere, and Minho said. We've all lost enough. Your father, our parents, 15 years of our lives consumed by revenge and grief. Adanna made me see that. He reached across the table, not quite touching Soo-min's hand. I loved you once. Part of me still does. But not the way I love her. And I think you've known that for a while. Soo-min's laugh was wet and broken. I have. I've been gathering evidence for months, convincing myself it was about justice. But really, I just wanted you to look at me the way you look at her. She turned to Adanna. You're very lucky. He's a good man, despite everything. They both are, Adanna said firmly. Grandmother is turning herself in, Daehyun added. She'll confess to the cover-up, the bribery, everything. You'll get your justice, Soo-min. Just not the kind you originally wanted. Soo-min closed the folder carefully, held it against her chest like a treasure. What happens to the company? It burns, Daehyun said simply. The Kang Corporation dies with our father's legacy. We're starting over, clean. And you? Soo-min looked at Adanna. What do you get out of this? Two men who love me enough to give up everything, Adanna said, and the chance to build something that doesn't have blood in its foundation. Soo-min stood, tucked the folder into her bag. I'm taking this to the international authorities. Your grandmother will face trial, but you three... She looked at each of them. I'll make sure they know you weren't complicit, that you were children when it happened. Thank you, Minho said softly. Don't thank me yet. The media will be vicious. The Kang name will be destroyed. Your social circle will abandon you. Soo-min pulled on her coat. But maybe that's what you need. A chance to find out who you are without the weight of all this history. She walked to the door, then paused. Minho? I'm glad you're happy. I really am. And Adanna? Take care of him. Both of them. They've been broken for so long they don't remember what whole feels like. Then she was gone, taking 15 years of vengeance with her. Minho dropped his head into his hands. It's really over. No, Daehyun corrected. It's just beginning. The next 72 hours were chaos. Grandmother Kang's arrest made international headlines. Prosecutor Yoon was found dead in his apartment, an apparent suicide, though everyone knew grandmother had one final loose end to tie up before surrendering. The Kang Corporation's stock plummeted. Board members fled like rats from a sinking ship. Assets were frozen pending investigation. Through it all, Adanna stayed between her husbands, anchoring them when the weight threatened to crush them both. She fielded calls from her family, now safely relocated to a private facility in Singapore. She spoke to lawyers, accountants, investigators. She designed the framework for what would come next. A new company built on ethical foundations, using the skills the brothers had despite the poison they'd been raised in. On the fourth night, she found Daehyun alone in his office, staring at a photo of his parents. "We have nothing left," he said without looking up. "The penthouse is leased through the company. We'll lose it. The cars, the bank accounts, everything tied up in legal proceedings. We're effectively broke." Adanna sat on his desk, tilted his chin up to face her. "You have me. Minho has me. We have each other. That's not nothing. You signed a contract for money and security. We can't give you either anymore." "I signed a contract," Adanna agreed, "but I stayed for something else entirely." She kissed him softly, felt him shudder. "I stayed because somewhere between the terror and the threats and the revelation that I married into a crime family, I fell in love with two impossible men who chose me over everything, even their legacy." "We chose you over a lie," Daehyun corrected. "There's a difference." "Then let's build a truth." Adanna pulled him to stand, led him to the bedroom where Minho was already waiting. Together, the three of us. No more secrets, no more tests, no more wondering if this is real. That night, they came together not as a contract obligation or a calculated seduction, but as three people who'd found each other in the wreckage of everything they'd known. Minho's hands were gentle, worshipful, tracing every curve of Adanna's body like she was art he'd waited his whole life to create. Daehyun's touch was fierce, possessive, like he was afraid she might disappear if he didn't hold tight enough. "I love you," Minho whispered against her throat. "I don't care if it's too soon or too complicated. I love you, Adanna." "I love you too," Daehyun added, his voice breaking on the words. "God help me, I didn't think I was capable of it anymore. But you made me feel again. You made me want to be better." Adanna pulled them both close, felt their hearts beating against hers in syncopated rhythm. "I love you both, my impossible husbands, my redemption and my ruin." "Which are we?" Minho asked, smiling against her shoulder. "Both," Adanna said. "Always both." 18 months later, Adanna stood on a construction site in Seoul's Gangnam district, her belly round with pregnancy, watching the first steel beams go up on what would become Kang-Okafor Development's flagship building. Affordable housing designed with sustainable materials, community spaces built into every floor, green roofs and solar panels gleaming in the sun. Daehyun approached from the left, his limp barely noticeable now, carrying coffee he knew she couldn't drink but bringing it anyway because the ritual mattered. Minho came from the right, paint stains on his hands from the mural he was designing for the building's lobby. The structural engineers signed off, Daehyun reported. "We're on schedule and under budget." "The community center board approved our proposal," Minho added. "They want to replicate this model in 3 more districts." "And your father?" Adanna asked, touching her belly where their children the ultrasound had revealed twins were growing. "Stabilized," Daehyun said softly. "The treatment is working. He'll be able to travel for the birth." Adanna's father had recovered slowly, the experimental treatment finally available thanks to the money from the contract. Money that, despite everything, the lawyers had determined was legitimately hers. The contract had been fulfilled. She'd stayed the 18 months, The company had been dissolved, but the payment had been guaranteed by separate accounts. She'd used half to secure her family's future. The other half became seed money for Kang Okafor Development, a company built on principles rather than profit, on community rather than exploitation. And grandmother? Adanna asked, though she already knew. Trial starts next month, Minho said. She's pleading guilty to everything. Her lawyer thinks she'll get 15 years, but at her age, he didn't finish. They all knew Grandmother Kang would die in prison. She'd chosen that fate deliberately, redemption through sacrifice. We should visit her again, Adanna said. Show her the ultrasound photos. Both brothers nodded. They visited every week, bringing photos and stories, letting their grandmother see that her grandsons were building something worth protecting, that her sacrifice hadn't been in vain. A reporter approached, camera crew in tow. Mr. and Mr. Kang, Mrs. Kang, can we get a statement about the building? Adanna stepped forward confidently, flanked by her husbands. This building represents a new chapter. Not just for Kang Okafor Development, but for what's possible when you choose to build rather than destroy. My husbands and I have been given a second chance. We're using it to create homes, communities, futures for people who deserve better than what the old systems offered. And your unusual marriage? The reporter pressed. There's been speculation. There's no speculation, Dana interrupted. I love both these men. They love me. We're building a family together. In 2 months, we'll welcome twins, a boy and a girl, Amara and Chidi Kang. And we'll teach them that family isn't about perfection. It's about choosing each other every single day, even when it's hard. Especially when it's hard, Daehyun added, his hand finding hers. Always when it's hard, Minho finished, taking her other hand. The reporter smiled. One final question. Do you regret any of it? The contract, the scandal, everything you went through? Adanna looked at her husbands, saw the men they'd become through fire and loss and love. Not a single second. This is my family, this is my choice, and I'd make it again in a heartbeat. As the camera crew packed up and the construction noise resumed around them, Adanna felt the baby's kick. 2 lives growing inside her, created from love that shouldn't have been possible. A contract that became a marriage. A transaction that became transformation. Are you happy? Minho asked softly, the question carrying weight. Adanna thought about her father, healthy and planning his trip to Korea. Her mother, finally able to breathe without drowning in debt. Her sister, graduating with honors. Her husbands, healing from 15 years of trauma. The building rising behind them, a testament to choosing light over darkness. I'm happy, she said simply. With you. Both of you. Always. Good, Daehyun said, kissing her temple. Because you're stuck with us forever now. Forever sounds perfect, Adanna replied. And as the Seoul sun set over their construction site, painting the sky in shades of gold and crimson, 3 people who'd found each other in darkness stood together in the light they'd built. 2 brothers who'd survived fire. 1 woman who'd saved them. A family born from contracts and forged in love. If you've stayed with Adanna, Daehyun, and Minho through every twist, every revelation, every moment of this impossible love story, I need you to do something for me right now. Hit that subscribe button because we bring you stories like this every single day. Stories about women who refuse to be victims, men who choose redemption, and love that defies every rule. Drop a comment telling me which moment hit you hardest. Was it grandmother's sacrifice? The brothers' reconciliation? Adanna choosing to stay despite the danger? And smash that like button if you believe love can heal even the deepest wounds. Your support means everything. Thank you for being here. Thank you for believing in impossible love stories. Until next time, remember, sometimes the best families are the ones we choose.